TomoNews presents Bad Tourist Behaviors.
Oh, stop petting the wildlife! A baby dolphin stranded on a beach is no longer around after being taken out of the water and photographed by tourists in Spain. The female calf was stranded on a beach in Mojácar, Almeria, when it was approached by beachgoers. According to Equinox, a non-profit group that rescues marine turtles and wildlife, the young dolphin would have definitely been terrified, and they railed on the people who handled the animal. Photographs posted to Facebook show kids touching the dolphin and even accidentally covering its blowhole. In a subsequent post, the organization clarified it wasn't blaming the tourists for the stranding, but criticized them for photographing and touching the animal, which caused it to become highly stressed.
Tourists mess with raptor history in Utah. This is the Dinosaur Trackway Trail in Red Fleet State Park, Utah, USA. Most of the footprints on it were left by ancient raptors. They're priceless natural artifacts from ancient history and protected as fossils under Utah state law. This, according to reports, is what several tourists are doing with said ancient footprints in Red Fleet State Park for the last 6 months. Problem is, destroying or vandalizing one could result in a felony charge. In the last 6 months, hundreds of raptor prints have been damaged and 10 have been thrown into the lake. Nobody knows who is responsible, but officials earlier caught a juvenile throwing a slab with prints on it into the lake. No word if he's been charged. A park manager told the Associated Press you'd think common sense would provide guidance on not to do it. Here's an idea. Why not Jurassic Park yourself some raptor patrol guards? Pretty sure that'd take care of the problem.
Wildlife selfies good for Instagram, horrible for the animals. Wildlife selfies have become all the rave over social media. Only problem is they encourage animal cruelty. As more people look for pointless reasons to share pictures of themselves, local wildlife around the world are paying the price. Charity Wild Animal Protection found a 292% increase in the amount of wildlife selfies posted on Instagram since 2014. The demand for wildlife selfies has led to an increase in local animals being snatched from the wild and forced into becoming props. Investigators found animals being abused in the Amazon cities of Manaus, Brazil, and Puerto Alegria, Peru. The team discovered green anacondas wounded and dehydrated, kept in small wooden crates, were not being strangled by the throat for selfies. Sloths are snatched from the wild so they can be held by tourists. The handling from all the tourists naturally causes the sloths to freak out. Now, when they're not needed for photos, they're tied to trees by ropes. Cayman crocodiles are lucky enough to get jammed into broken refrigerators with their jaws wrapped shut with rubber bands. A good rule of thumb: next time you think about taking a selfie, don't. No one cares. That is, unless you slip and fall while taking it and happen to pass away in the process. In that case, send it over to us and we'll Tomo it.
Idiot tourist drags Swan out of lake for a stupid selfie. An innocent swan in Macedonia is the latest victim of people and their need to take the perfect selfie. A Bulgarian tourist visiting Lake Ohrid was caught on camera pulling a helpless swan out of the lake to be used as a prop for a selfie. The woman grabbed the bird by its wings before yanking it out of the water for some photographs. Once the woman was finished with her photo shoot, she dumped the swan on the ground and went back to her friends and walked off. The Macedonian International News Agency said the woman killed the swan, but the witness who took the photos told Huffington Post that the swan eventually swam away. Less than a month ago, a group of beachgoers in Buenos Aires killed a baby dolphin after pulling it out of the water and passing it around for selfies. Days later, a man in Florida was seen yanking a young shark out of the water so he could pose with it.
7 reasons why Chinese are the most undesirable tourists. For the fact that the Chinese government had just issued a new law against unruly behavior while traveling, there's got to be something that can be done. Last month, New York Times even listed China tourists as the most undesirable tourists. Now, let's see what they did wrong. Stand in line? Yeah, right. There's no such thing in their dictionaries. For them, they think they are entitled to touch everything they want, even priceless artifacts. I'm rich. I can do whatever I want, with no regards to other people's feelings. They can't bear to lose. even on the subway. They've got to get that seat. Foreigners are very well-mannered. China tourists, not so much. They are more cocky. Who cares you were here? Seriously, we don't care. Stop putting your names on everything. Their biggest wrong is that they feel urinating in public and spitting is okay. And that new traveler's guide? Will it make a difference?
Chinese tourists pig out at Thailand buffet. A group of Chinese tourists were caught on camera, well, behaving badly. The tourists were filmed amid a feeding frenzy at a hotel buffet in Thailand. Seafood seems to be their food of choice, as one by one they frantically climb over one another to fill multiple plates at a time. Most were employing the double plates technique, using one plate to scoop food onto another, while others, well, just use their hands. The tourists were seen taking 3 or 4 plates at a time. Tables were filled with seafood. Afterwards, photos were taken of the leftover uneaten food, prompting netizens to criticize the behavior of the greedy tourists. Most people were upset, calling the behavior disgusting, while others simply said, "That is Chinese."
Chinese tourists clear out fruit plate in seconds. We can never be disappointed about how fast the Chinese tourists handle their food. This video, showing a group of Chinese tourists racing each other for a fresh plate of lychees at the poolside bar of a hotel in Vietnam, has gone viral online. Within just 6 seconds, the entire plate is gone. Many Facebook users condemn their behavior, calling them greedy and disgusting. While other users, presumably mainland Chinese users, claim that this group of tourists does not represent the entire mainland Chinese population.
Mainland Chinese tourists throw hissy fit in Hong Kong hotel.
Don't touch me! Back off! Making a big fuss won't help anything! Calm down!
A group of more than 24 mainland Chinese tourists thrust police and staff at a hotel in Hong Kong's bustling Tsim Sha Tsui neighborhood into their personal hell on Sunday.
We don't want to live here! We want our money back!
5 people to a room? Do you expect us to sleep on the floor? You've got to be kidding me!
I'm here to help you. Don't speak to me in that tone.
Before arriving in Hong Kong, the group of 29 visiting from the southeastern province of Fujian had tried to book a total of 7 rooms, meant to accommodate 24 people for just a single night, according to authorities. The expired credit card they had used to book the $1,000 expense, however, was declined. Apparently knowing full well they didn't have a proper reservation ahead of their departure, the group nonetheless decided to air their grief with hotel staff. The extremely loud and incredibly close, high-pitched frequency no doubt had lasting effects on the poor hotel manager's eardrums, because he eventually agreed to offer, on extremely short notice, 4 rooms that could accommodate the large group for US $950. And if you have to ask, here's the breakdown. A family room with 7 bunk beds for a whopping total of 14 people. 2 rooms for half dozen people each, with only 2 double beds in each room, meaning 4 people will have to doze off on the hotel room floor. And finally, a likely much more comfortable triple room for 3 of the tourists. Instead of getting accustomed to their no doubt less than snug arrangements, as soon as they checked in, the army of tourists marched straight to Disneyland. When they came back to the hotel at around 7 p.m., they began, unsurprisingly, to kick up a bit of a fuss. If they don't have any rooms available, they shouldn't take our money. This time complaining that the hotel had put men and women in the same room. How dare them? And that they didn't like bunk beds, and that they didn't want to, under any circumstance, sleep on the ground.
Refund! Refund! Give us back our money!
Stand back! Stand back! You could take legal actions against the hotel, but we're not authorized to give you a refund.
One of the feisty sightseers next cleverly suggested to her fellow travelers that they should break the law and try to get a free night stay at a police station. But of course, that idea was quickly vetoed. The complaints lasted an agonizing 7 hours and finally ended at around 2 p.m. after the hotel agreed to pay for the group to stay at a neighboring hotel.
Family of 3 thrown off flight for refusing to buckle up. Last week, a Thai Airways flight was delayed for 45 minutes because a family of 3 tourists from China flying from Bangkok to Hong Kong refused to buckle up their 3-year-old son. The 3-year-old refused to sit next to his mother, crying and insisting that he wanted to sit on her lap. The mother eventually obliged, but when flight attendants were performing their pre-takeoff safety check, they noticed the unbuckled 3-year-old and informed the mother that she'd have to buckle her child in during takeoff. The father, sitting on the aisle across from his family, told the flight attendant to stop bullying his wife and child. The flight attendant then offered to get a reclining child seat for the toddler if he didn't want to sit in the seat. The husband yelled that the flight attendant was persecuting his family and demanded that she apologize. Some other commuters on the flight lost patience with the demanding father and told flight staff that they should call the police. The angry husband told them to buckle their mouths or he'd do it for them. Police were finally called and they escorted the family of 3 off the flight. Their luggage was removed and they were forced to wait for the next flight. During the delay, police went over safety protocols with the parents and ground staff practiced wearing a seatbelt with the child. A Thai Airways staff explained that children often did not want to wear a seatbelt, but that it was up to flight staff and the parents to convince children to buckle up during takeoffs and landings. She said sometimes flight attendants will offer candy as an incentive for good behavior, and it always helps when parents cooperate with airline staff. Hopefully the parents were more cooperative on their next flight. It's a long walk or drive from Bangkok back to China. Tourists from China strike again. 3 women shut down the airport. 3 women from China caused an airport in Okinawa, Japan to shut down its security gates for an hour, delay over 24 flights, ground 5 flights, and force thousands of passengers to retake security checks. Airport authorities were forced to shut down the security gates after they discovered the security breach. 3 tourists from China wandered into the baggage reclaim area and ended up at the departure gates. Flights were held and all passengers had to retake security checks, including passengers who had already boarded planes waiting to take off. Allegedly, the 3 women were just very determined to go shopping at duty-free shops while they waited for their connecting flight to Tokyo. Tourists from China have such a voracious appetite and reputation for being shopaholics that Hong Kongers have nicknamed them locusts, a dig at their insatiable appetites and tendency to descend upon shops in swarms. It's just yet another incident of tourists from China behaving badly abroad, and Chinese netizens agree. One netizen wrote, "They should be banned from traveling abroad." And China's State Tourism Administration agrees and said it would compile a database of badly behaved tourists and circulate it to travel companies.